The boxes were gone. All of them. My entire life. Packed away and replaced with mint green walls, a white crib, and a rocking chair where my desk used to be. I stood in the doorway, my backpack sliding off my shoulder and hitting the floor with a dull thud. "Do you like it?" Marisol's voice came from behind me, dripping with false sweetness. "We finished it yesterday. The designer did such an amazing job with the space." My space. My room. The walls my mom and I had painted together when I was 12, covered up like they never existed. I pressed my palm against the doorframe, steadying myself. "Where are my things?" The words came out barely above a whisper. "Oh, honey." Marisol waddled closer, her pregnant belly leading the way. "Grant moved everything to the basement. We needed this room for the baby. It has the best natural light." I turned to face her, catching the slight upturn at the corner of her mouth. She'd been waiting for this moment, probably rehearsing it while directing the movers where to put the changing table. "You had no right." My voice grew stronger. "This is my mother's house. Actually, it's your father's house now." She placed her hand on her belly, a gesture she used like a shield. "And we're having a baby. You're practically grown. You'll be going to college soon anyway." Heavy footsteps on the stairs announced my father's arrival. He appeared behind Marisol, his face already set in that placating expression I'd grown to hate. "Alara, be reasonable. The baby needs." "Mom left this house to me." I cut him off, my hands balling into fists. "You know she did." "That's not exactly." He ran his fingers through his thinning hair. "It's complicated, sweetie. There are legal aspects you don't understand." "Then explain them to me." I stepped closer, forcing him to meet my eyes. Because I remember sitting in Mr. Patterson's office after the funeral. I remember him reading the will. Marisol's hand found my father's arm. "Grant, maybe we should all sit down and discuss this calmly. The stress isn't good for the baby." "Right." I laughed, the sound sharp and foreign in my throat. "Because that's all that matters now." I pushed past them, taking the stairs two at a time. The basement door was locked, another new development. My father called after me, but I was already moving, grabbing my keys from the hook by the front door. "Alara, wait." He caught up to me on the porch. "Where are you going?" "To Aunt Val's." I yanked open my car door. "At least she doesn't lie to me." "You're being dramatic." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Your mother would want us to move forward, to be a family." The mention of my mother froze me in place. I turned slowly, meeting his gaze. "Mom would never have let you do this. She promised me this house would always be my home." "Things change, sweetie." His eyes darted away. "Sometimes we have to adapt." "No, Dad. You changed." I slid into the driver's seat. "And I'm done adapting." As I backed out of the driveway, I caught a glimpse of Marisol in the nursery window, one hand on her belly, the other adjusting the pristine white curtains. My mother's wind chimes still hung from the porch, their gentle tinkling following me down the street like a goodbye. I pressed the accelerator harder, my vision blurring. Aunt Val would know what to do. She always said Mom had been smarter than anyone gave her credit for. Maybe it was time to find out exactly what that meant. Aunt Val's kitchen always smelled like cinnamon, even in summer. I sat at her worn oak table, watching steam rise from my untouched tea while she paced, phone pressed to her ear. "No, Grant. You can't just listen to me." Her free hand clenched into a fist. "That house was Elena's. You know exactly what she wanted." Theo slid into the chair beside me, his gangly teenage frame somehow taking up twice the space it should. "Dad's making lasagna," he whispered. "The good kind, with extra cheese." I managed a weak smile. Uncle Dorian's cooking was legendary, but right now even the thought of food made my stomach turn. "Fine. Have your lawyer call me." Aunt Val ended the call with more force than necessary. "That man has some nerve." "What did he say?" I traced the rim of my mug, not sure I wanted to know. "He claims there were amendments to the will." She dropped into the chair across from me. "Changes your mother supposedly made before she died." The lie hit me like a physical blow. "That's impossible. Mom was in the hospital those last weeks. She could barely hold a pen." "Exactly." Aunt Val reached for my hand. "And I was there every day." She never mentioned changes to anything. Uncle Dorian appeared in the doorway, wiping his hands on a dish towel. "Maybe we should call Patterson ourselves. He handled Elena's estate." Already tried. Aunt Val's mouth tightened. His office says he retired last month. All his files were transferred to some firm downtown. Convenient timing, I muttered. Too convenient. Uncle Dorian pulled up a chair. But your father's not as clever as he thinks. There are always paper trails. A notification lit up my phone. A text from Dad. Come home. We need to talk. I switched off the screen without responding. You can stay here as long as you need, Aunt Val said. The guest room is yours. Thanks. I swallowed hard. But what about school? All my stuff is still locked in their basement. I'll handle that. Uncle Dorian's calm voice steadied me. First thing tomorrow, we'll go get your things. Dad won't like that. Your father's feelings stopped being my priority the moment he locked away your belongings. Aunt Val's tone could have frozen water. Besides, I still have a key. Theo perked up. Can I come? I want to see Marisol's face when… Theo. Uncle Dorian's warning was gentle but firm. Sorry. He slouched back, but I caught his conspiratorial wink. The doorbell rang, making us all jump. Through the front window, I glimpsed my father's car in the driveway. I'll handle this. Aunt Val stood, but I caught her arm. No. I need to face him. I moved toward the door, my legs steadier than I expected. Dad stood on the porch, hands shoved in his pockets like a teenager. Behind him, Marisol waited in the car, her silhouette visible through the windshield. Elara, please. His voice had that pleading tone I'd grown used to since Mom died. Let's work this out. Like you worked out taking my room without asking? The baby has 8 other rooms to choose from. I crossed my arms. Mom's house has plenty of space. His face hardened. Your mother's house is my house now. And until you're 18, you live by my rules. 7 months. I met his gaze. That's how long until I'm 18. Did you think I wouldn't remember what Mom's will said? Something flickered in his eyes, fear, maybe, or guilt. Things aren't that simple. They are to me. I stepped back inside. I'll be by tomorrow for my things. Elara. I closed the door, cutting off his protest. Through the window, I watched him stand there for a long moment before returning to his car. As they drove away, I heard Aunt Val on the phone again, her voice low and determined. Yes, I need to speak to someone about contesting a will amendment. The bank statement trembled in my hands as I sat in my car outside Dad's office building. His company name wasn't on the directory anymore. In fact, according to the security guard, Grant Mitchell hadn't worked here for 3 months. My phone buzzed. Another text from Marisol. Your father's very worried. Please come home. I tossed the phone onto the passenger seat and grabbed my backpack. The elevator ride to the 14th floor felt endless. When the doors opened, I walked straight to where Dad's office used to be. Through the glass, I saw unfamiliar faces, different furniture. No trace of him. Can I help you? A woman in a crisp blazer appeared beside me. I'm looking for Grant Mitchell. Her expression shifted. Oh. He hasn't been with the firm since March. Something about pursuing other opportunities. March. 2 months before he married Marisol. 1 month before Mom died. Did he leave a forwarding address? I'm afraid I can't. Please. I pulled out my student ID. I'm his daughter. He's been unreachable. She hesitated, then gestured me to follow. At her desk, she pulled up a file. The last correspondence went to a P.O. box. She scribbled the number on a post-it. That's all I can share. Back in my car, I called Aunt Val. Dad's been lying about everything. He lost his job months ago. That explains the refinancing paperwork. Her voice was tight. The bank sent it to your mother's email. I still have access. He's taken out 2 mortgages on the house. The world tilted sideways. He can't do that. It's not his house. With the amended will. She paused. Elara, there's something else. I found out Marisol's previous marriage ended because she bankrupted her ex-husband. She has a history of financial fraud. My fingers gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. Through the windshield, I watched people leaving work, heading home to their normal lives. What do they want with Mom's house? I don't know, honey, but whatever it is. A tap on my window made me jump. Dad stood there, his face a mask of concern that didn't reach his eyes. I hadn't noticed his car pull up. I have to go. I hung up as he opened my door. What are you doing here? His voice was careful, controlled. Looking for you. At the job you don't have anymore. Color drained from his face. It's complicated. The market's been. Stop lying. I stepped out of the car, forcing him to back up. Does Marisol know? Or is she just another person you're deceiving? You don't understand what's at stake. He grabbed my arm as I turned to leave. Everything I've done for our family. Our family died with Mom. I yanked free. Now you're just trying to steal what's left of her. The house is an investment. Once the market turns, it's not yours to invest. My voice cracked. Mom left it to me because she knew. She knew you'd do something like this. His expression hardened. You're 17. You can't possibly manage. I'm better at managing than you. I pulled the bank statement from my pocket. At least I still have a job. He snatched the paper, crumpling it. Where did you get this? Mom taught me to pay attention. I backed toward my car. She also taught me to keep records. Of everything. Fear flickered across his face, the same look I'd seen when I mentioned the will. Alara, wait. But I was already driving away, his desperate calls fading behind me. At the next red light, I pulled out my phone and opened the job listing I'd bookmarked earlier. The local bookstore was hiring, and I needed to start saving. 7 months wasn't long to prepare for war. Real estate listings? Maya, my new coworker at Cornerstone Books, peered over my shoulder at the computer screen. Looking to move? More like looking to stay. I minimized the window showing Mom's house, now listed as a charming investment opportunity. My hands shook as I sorted through the morning's shipment of novels. Careful with those. Maya steadied a teetering stack. You seem off today. Before I could answer, the bell above the door chimed. Marisol waddled in, her pregnancy making her movements awkward. Our eyes met across the store, and I froze. I'll handle it, Maya whispered, moving toward the front. But Marisol ignored her, heading straight for me. Your father's worried sick. She placed both hands on her belly, her signature move. He's trying to reach you. I continued shelving books. I'm working. This little rebellion needs to stop. Her voice dropped lower. We're trying to do what's best for everyone by selling Mom's house. I turned to face her. I saw the listing. Something flickered across her face. Surprise, then calculation. The market's perfect right now. We could all benefit. There is no we. I clutched a book so tight its corners dug into my palms. That house isn't yours to sell. No. She smiled, the expression never reaching her eyes. Check the county records. Everything's in Grant's name now. Maya appeared beside me. Is there a problem here? Just a family discussion. Marisol's smile widened. Though Alara should know, her father's lawyer called. Apparently, there are some concerns about Elena's mental state when she made her original will. The room tilted. What? The medication she was on, the pain she was in? Marisol shrugged. It brings everything into question. But we can discuss this at home. This isn't about Mom's will. The realization hit like ice water. You're broke. That's why you need to sell. Her smile vanished. You don't know what you're talking about. I know about your last marriage. About Dad losing his job. I stepped closer. What happened to his severance pay, Marisol? She grabbed my arm, fingers digging in. Listen carefully. You're a child playing at being grown up. Don't push this. Everything okay? Maya's voice carried a warning. Marisol released me, composure snapping back into place. Just remember what I said. Some battles aren't worth fighting. After she left, Maya locked the door and flipped the back in 15-minute sign. Want to tell me what that was about? I sank onto a nearby stool. My stepmother's trying to sell my dead mom's house out from under me.
Damn. She sat beside me.
That's some Cinderella-level stuff. Yeah, except this evil stepmother knows real estate law. I pulled out my phone, showing her the listing. They've already scheduled an open house. Wait, Maya zoomed in on the photos. I know this house. My mom's a property lawyer. She handled a case there years ago. Something about the original deed. My heart skipped. What kind of case? Let me call her. Maya was already dialing. She keeps records of everything. I watched her walk away, hope warring with dread in my chest. Through the store window, I could see Marisol in her car, talking intensely on her phone. She caught me watching and held my gaze as she spoke, her free hand resting on her belly. A threat or a warning. Either way, the message was clear. She wasn't backing down. But neither was I. Maya returned, her expression bright with discovery. You're going to want to hear this. Mom found something interesting about your house's original ownership. For the first time in weeks, I felt the balance of power shift. Maybe Mom had left me more than just a house. She'd left me a way to fight back. Maya's mother spread the documents across her home office desk. Your mother was clever, Elara. The house isn't just in her name, it's in a trust. One that becomes active on your 18th birthday. I traced the legal language with my finger. What does that mean? It means your father can't sell without the trustee's approval. She tapped another document. And guess who your mother named as trustee? Aunt Val. The pieces clicked into place. That's why Dad's rushing to sell now. My phone buzzed. Another message from Dad. We have an offer on the house.
Good one.
Let's talk. He's getting desperate, Aunt Val said from the doorway. I hadn't heard her arrive. The bank's threatening foreclosure on the second mortgage. Maya's mother nodded. Which he legally couldn't take out without trustee approval. The bank will void it once they see these documents.
My phone lit up again.
This time, a text from an unknown number. Open house tomorrow. Don't make a scene. They're showing the house tomorrow. I stood, my chair scraping against hardwood. We have to stop them. We will. Aunt Val's voice hardened. But legally, one wrong move and… The office door burst open. Theo stumbled in, breathless. They're at the house.
Right now.
With people. I was moving before anyone could stop me. Through the window, I saw Uncle Dorian's car pulling up. I need a ride. Elara, wait. Aunt Val called after me, but I was already running down the stairs. Uncle Dorian didn't ask questions, just drove. As we rounded the corner onto my street, I saw the cluster of cars. Real estate agent signs. Prospective buyers walking up our front path. Through the living room window, I caught glimpses of Marisol, playing perfect hostess. Dad stood beside her, gesturing at Mom's built-in bookshelves, the ones we'd spent a summer restoring together. You don't have to do this now, Uncle Dorian said quietly. Yes, I do. I got out before he could stop me. Inside, the house smelled wrong. Artificial flowers and air freshener covering Mom's familiar cinnamon and book scent. Marisol's voice carried from the kitchen. The previous owner never updated anything, but we have plans to modernize. The previous owner was my mother. I stepped into view. The potential buyers, a young couple, startled at my tone. And she loved this house exactly as it is. Elara. Dad's warning came through clenched teeth. This isn't the time. Actually, it's the perfect time. I pulled out my phone, bringing up the trust documents Maya's mother had photographed. These people should know they're viewing a house that isn't legally for sale. The couple exchanged glances. Marisol's perfect smile cracked. Perhaps we should reschedule. There won't be a reschedule. I turned to the buyers. This house isn't a trust. One that my father and his new wife have no authority over. That's enough. Dad grabbed my arm, but I yanked free. No, it's not enough. My voice shook. Mom knew this would happen. She knew you'd try to take everything she built. That's why she protected me from you. The silence that followed was deafening. The couple quietly excused themselves, followed by the real estate agent. Through the window, I watched them drive away as Marisol's carefully constructed facade crumbled. You've ruined everything, she hissed.
No.
I met her gaze steadily. I'm just getting started. Dad stepped between us, his face ashen. We can fix this. The only thing that needs fixing, I said, heading for the door, is the locks. And that happens on my birthday. Behind me, Marisol started to cry, real tears this time. But I didn't look back. Some things, once broken, couldn't be fixed. And some shouldn't be. The locksmith's van pulled up exactly at noon on my 18th birthday. Dad and Marisol stood on the porch, watching as Aunt Val handed him the paperwork. Proof of the trust, the eviction notice. Everything legal and binding. You can't do this. Marisol's voice cracked, her hand protectively over her belly. I'm 8 months pregnant. You have 30 days. I kept my voice steady, just like we'd practiced. The law is clear. Dad stepped forward, his face haggard. Elara, please. We can work something out. Share the house, maybe. Like you shared Mom's memory? The words tasted bitter. Or her bedroom. Or my college fund. His flinch told me I'd hit home. Behind him, the locksmith began working on the front door. We made mistakes. Dad's voice dropped lower. But this is still your home too. Your brother or sister. We'll have 2 parents. I cut him off. I only have Mom's memory. And this house. Marisol suddenly doubled over, gasping. Dad rushed to support her, panic flashing across his face. The baby is fine. She straightened slowly, eyes locked on mine. Just stress. Which isn't good for either of us, Solara. The manipulation was obvious, but something in her expression made me hesitate. Then I saw the nursery curtains through the window, the ones that used to be in my room, and my resolve hardened. Your lawyer has the paperwork. I nodded to the manila envelope on the porch swing. 30 days. You'll regret this. Marisol's mask slipped, revealing something ugly beneath. When you're alone in this big house, surrounded by ghosts. Better ghosts than liars. The locksmith stood, keys in hand. All done. New deadbolts installed. I took the keys, their weight familiar, yet strange. Behind me, Aunt Val stepped closer, her presence steady and grounding. Grant. Her voice carried a warning. Don't make this harder. Dad's shoulders sagged. He looked older suddenly, defeated in a way I'd never seen. You're so much like her. Your mother never backed down either. Good. I moved past them to unlock my front door, my door now. Then she'd be proud. She'd be heartbroken. His words stopped me cold. Seeing her family torn apart like this. I turned slowly. You tore this family apart the day you let Marisol empty my room. The day you tried to sell Mom's house. The day you... A sharp cry cut through the air. This time when Marisol doubled over, it wasn't an act. Water pooled at her feet, spreading across the porch boards. The baby's coming. Dad's voice rose in panic. It's too early. Aunt Val was already on her phone, calling 911. I stood frozen, keys digging into my palm, as Marisol's face contorted in pain. She reached out blindly, and to my horror, her hand caught my arm. Please, she whispered, all pretense gone. Don't make us leave.
Not now.
The ambulance siren wailed in the distance. I looked at my father, supporting his wife, then at the house, my house, with its new locks and old memories. Mom would know what to do. Mom would know how to be strong without being cruel. But Mom wasn't here. And as Marisol's grip tightened with another contraction, I realized this victory felt nothing like I'd imagined. The ambulance rounded the corner, its lights painting everything in harsh red flashes. I had what I wanted, the house, the justice, the revenge. So, why did it feel like I was the one who'd lost something? Alara? Aunt Val's voice was gentle. What do you want to do? I looked down at the keys in my hand, suddenly unsure of everything. The hospital waiting room buzzed with fluorescent lights and tension. I sat between Aunt Val and Uncle Dorian, the house keys still clutched in my hand, while Dad paced near the delivery room doors. You don't have to stay, Aunt Val whispered. But I did. Something about leaving now felt like crossing a line I couldn't uncross. A nurse emerged, heading straight for Dad. Mr. Mitchell? Your wife's asking for you. And she glanced at me. She's asking for Alara too. Dad turned, surprise and hope warring on his face. I stood slowly, my legs unsteady. You don't owe them anything, Aunt Val reminded me. I know. I followed Dad through the doors anyway. Marisol lay in the delivery room, her carefully maintained facade stripped away by pain and fear. When she saw me, tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm sorry, she gasped between contractions. About everything. I was so scared of being nothing, of having nothing. Don't. I moved closer, not sure if I was stopping her apology or my own response to it. Just focus on the baby. She grabbed my hand suddenly, squeezing hard enough to hurt. Your mother's music box, the one from the mantel. I put it in storage. In the basement. I couldn't sell it. The admission hit harder than any of her previous manipulations. Dad stepped forward, his face ashen. Marisol, what are you talking about? The antique dealer. She wouldn't meet his eyes. I told you Elena's things were worthless, but I sold them to pay off my debts. before the wedding. The room tilted. Mom's things, her collection of vintage books, her grandmother's china, her jewelry, all gone. Get out. Dad's voice shook. Ilara, please. But Marisol's grip tightened as another contraction hit.
No. Please stay.
I need to make this right. The monitor's beeping increased. A nurse rushed in, checking readings. Blood pressure's too high. We need to get this baby out now. Everything accelerated after that. Doctors appeared, voices overlapped, and Marisol's grip on my hand became desperate. The music box, she gasped. Behind the water heater. The key. In the liner. Stop talking, the doctor ordered. Push now. I tried to step back, but Marisol wouldn't let go. Your mother. She came to me. In the hospital. Before she died. Dad made a strangled sound. The monitor's beeping grew more urgent. She made me promise. Marisol's words came between labored breaths. Promise to look after you. I failed. I failed everyone. The baby's first cry pierced the chaos. Marisol's grip finally loosened as they placed the tiny, red-faced boy on her chest. Your brother, she whispered. I looked at this small, innocent thing, born into our web of lies and betrayal. He had Mom's nose, the same one Dad and I shared. His name, Marisol said softly, should be Elena's father's name, like she wanted for her own son. Dad sank into a chair, covering his face. I stood between them, my father, my stepmother, my brother, feeling the weight of Mom's music box key in my pocket. The one I'd found years ago, hidden in my jewelry box with a note. For when you need to remember. The baby squirmed, his tiny hand wrapping around my finger. In that moment, I understood what Mom had known all along. Some things were worth more than houses or revenge. James, I said quietly. Grandpa's name was James. Marisol nodded, tears flowing freely now. James Elena Mitchell. Outside, the sun broke through clouds, casting long shadows through the hospital windows. Like Mom's wind chimes, dancing in the light. Mom's music box sat on my desk, its familiar melody filling my new dorm room. The key had led me to more than just the box. Tucked inside was a letter, written in her final days. My dearest Ilara, it began. By now you'll understand why I left the house to you, but perhaps not why I asked Marisol to watch over you. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones fighting their own battles. Your father's greatest fear was ending up like his own father, alone and bitter. Instead, he became exactly that by trying to avoid it. A knock at the door interrupted my reading. James squirmed in Dad's arms as they entered, his 7-month-old face lighting up when he saw me. Someone wanted to see his sister's new place. Dad handed him over, hovering uncertainly by the door. The house feels different without you. That's because I finally cleared out the basement. I bounced James gently. Found some interesting things in storage. His eyes fell on Mom's music box, recognition and shame crossing his face. Marisol told me everything. About selling Elena's things, about the debts. I know. I set James down on my bed, surrounded by pillows. But she also told me where to find the dealers. I've tracked down most of Mom's collection. You shouldn't have to fix our mistakes.
No.
I met his gaze. But Mom would have wanted me to try. James grabbed the letter from my desk, crumpling it with tiny fists. As I rescued it, Dad caught a glimpse of Mom's handwriting. She knew, didn't she? His voice cracked. About everything. Even before. She knew you were scared. I smoothed the letter. She wrote that fear makes people build walls when they should be building bridges. The silence stretched between us, filled only by James's happy babbling. Finally, Dad spoke. The rental income from the house, it's yours. For college. I know, but I'd rather use it to buy back Mom's things. I picked up James as he started fussing. Some legacies are worth more than money. You sound just like her. He smiled sadly. The apartment Marisol and I found, it has an extra room. If you ever want to visit. James misses you. Just James? His eyes welled up.
No.
Not just James. I handed him back his son, who immediately grabbed his nose. I have a study group tonight, but maybe this weekend I could come see the apartment. We'd like that. He turned to leave, then stopped. Elena would be proud of you, Ilara. Not for keeping the house, but for knowing when to open its doors. After they left, I returned to Mom's letter, reading the final lines I'd memorized weeks ago. The house is yours, my darling, but don't let it become a fortress. Let it be what it was always meant to be, a bridge between past and future, between hurt and healing. Sometimes the bravest thing isn't holding on, but learning to let go while keeping your heart open. I closed the music box, its melody fading like summer twilight. Through my dorm window, I could see students crossing the quad, their lives intersecting and diverging like the paths in Mom's garden. Tomorrow, I drive to the antique dealer 2 towns over, another piece of Mom's collection waiting to come home. But tonight, I had reading to do, a future to build, and bridges to cross. My phone lit up with a text from Marisol. James rolled over today. Thought you'd want to know. Below it was a video attachment, and despite everything, I found myself smiling as I pressed play. Some bridges, it seemed, built themselves when you weren't looking.